So the same thing with decolonization. You can't tell decolonization, but when I say to you, I speak to, let's say, a so-called clearing person, a so-called colored person, I say, oh, the so-called colors, you feel offended. It means you don't know what you talk about. The reason why we use that thing of saying the so-called, it was because we do not accept that we are colors. That is why we say so-called. Now these kids who are busy with the program of decolonization, when you say that, it gets angry even if you speak Afrikaans with her. If you speak to a Sotho child, he gets angry, and yet unity of the African people. How are you going to get that? Those are small things that we can start to fix ourselves, amongst ourselves, then we can go forward. But my segment is, in such apartheid, utter those words. He uttered them entirely out of joy, elation, and relief that at long last his people, in all their diversity, were poised to enjoy the things that our country offered. Total liberation of our country. We did not say that. What we do about it is a separate matter, please. Where you gonna get me defending these things, I am there. Don't tell me anything different that you could have done. 94. Ubutiko means nothing now. It serves no purpose. If you were clever, you were anything, you would have done what Lux Matoto did, what everybody did over the years. Okay? So whether it was for the Khoi and the San people, whether the struggle was just one, as the instruction and call of Pixlika Seme, when in 1906 to 1910, when he arrived in South Africa, preached the gospel of unity of African people as the only solution for us to obtain our goals. Okay? So we mustn't be do these kinds of things that are confusing Abandwana. We must tell Abandwana, I challenge them anyway. These people, you say you're going to fight, when actually you are not fit, when you drink too much alcohol, when you have no flag, when you have no national anthem, when you have nothing of that, how are you going to fight? You go into the bush, before you go to the bush and fight, you are going to have allegiance to those things and believe, like about Sobukwe, all the great guns that we had in this African continent. The topic, therefore, infers that the dream or vision of rainbow nation is lost. I may concur with this assertion to a limited extent. Tutu and those before him have always harbored the idea of a rainbow nation. This is not Indo-Ethical in 94. From day one, as I told you, what Pixlika Seme wanted, you can go back to about Dubois, you can go back to everyone who have been quoted here, going back to Amaklasha or Stirman or the banks of the Kamtus River. What they wanted, David Stirman, what they wanted was to protect what belongs to our people. It's not something new. For what? So that we could live and continue to feed our hungry people, clothe the naked, provide free and compulsory education to the children, create employment for the unemployed, provide shelter to the homeless, end exploitation of man by man, build a vibrant economy that will work for every South African. That's what we did. That's what we believe in. It was always there. Tutu just coined it and called it a rainbow nation. So this has always been our, in a nutshell, the talk today is just for us now to really, no, this is the time now that we must talk, and we are doing exactly that. In a nutshell, the task of the new nation was to provide basic human needs. That's what it means, to every citizen. In my view, that hope was not at all misplaced. It was correct then, it is still correct today, it needs to be pursued. That wish for our country cannot be wished away. Because This is the same as what Luthuli prayed for in 1959. After winning the Oslo Nobel Peace Prize, Luthuli went these people in this country, and he watched with amazement to see what was going on. And he took a pen and paper and wrote for the drum of the next edition of the drum magazine. You know? And uthi after Jongaba and enjoying their my prayer today is that the day will soon come when all my people will share in the freedom and the good things of life which are all around me. You understand? He was not dreaming. He knew what we have under the soil of our country. He knew that we got minerals. He knew it's doable, and he wanted us to do it. Tutu was excited about the possibility of all of us living in harmony, peace, and a prospering economy that was working for every South African. And a possibility of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic South Africa was always in the minds of our founding pioneers. This is not something new. Tutu just gave it a name. And this is the path we must go see walking. Calling ourselves a rainbow nation after the long and vicious economic exploitation, political domination, and social degradation was easily accepted by the majority of South Africans. A natural rainbow is a beautiful sight to the eye. In that doom and gloom, because in most cases, in indudumo, imibane and all that, and it comes and blows those colors there, which you find, by the way, all of them in our national flag. Why? Why could he not be happy and get the appropriate phrase to describe the moment? At that time, our freedom from the shackles of enslavement were broken. The rainbow concept symbolizes a state of optimism that South Africa was in. Anyone who was there at the time was taken by the euphoria. That's what was there. I was there at the Union buildings. The thing that cut me, despite the other planes, when they came for us, those jets, which was a moment that no South Africans ever forgot. But I love this one. I'm sitting what we have and how we viewed it. We can't say we were never told Sisonge. We can't come here and think that this thing is our sense again, it's going to happen on its own. It was going to happen because the first one happened because of us. And this one also must happen because of it. Was indeed a big, good, and correct hope that was instilled in our heads. For us to sustain the Rainbow Nation, we were supposed to be administratively sound and politically stable. The Rainbow Nation's vision dovetails well with the Freedom Charter, where it says, I subscribe to the Freedom Charter. I have always done that. There shall be comfort, peace, and prosperity. That is what was the essence of freedom, and that is what we were supposed to get for the price, for the sacrifices that we made. Reconciliation amongst the oppressed and former oppressors was still a quintessential in sustaining our nation as it was at the time. Those are the cornerstones of making sure that we never go back and easily talk about it when we have never participated in it. It's a different thing if you have participated in a war. You can say that, I believe you. But if you have never, we going to buy stop, please. Be careful of what we are asking for. The reconciliation and rainbow nation concepts were bound to be threatened if the spoils of freedom were not to be distributed and enjoyed equally and fairly. That is the crux of the matter. That's a different story there. It has nothing to do with us seeking the nation. The fact that we cannot do what we're supposed to do is our problem, it's our baby. The generation that is here now must deal with it. You can't do that. It's wrong. The risk to the rainbow nation was and is exacerbated by maladministration, corruption, cadre deployment, economic dumping, lawlessness, and above all else, deteriorating leadership standards. Yeah? That is what we must talk about. A leader can stand up, that is not practical. Leaders don't do that. Now, details standards deteriorate. The barriers of entry to leadership are too low. Because because you know that even here today, I can't even, when we are taking it wrong, you can charge me for abuse. We hear because I mean, really, there's nothing. In our days, there's nothing you can do. Then that is where people will test you. Okay? And you can go and read how much was tortured. There's no form of torture that was not used in this body of mine. Okay? So, not that, to be shot at by the army, by the security post, for you to die. That happened to me here. But I will never mislead abantu and make it as if Imfazwe is a thing. It's not. It's a horrible thing. I think the organizers, Zalena into Gengo, the Tetom Nina, professor, no doctor, you are becoming what actually, that was the Umlumiso in yes. Khawulezani bakhumshayo man. No yeast and full service a lot, but something that is making. No, umlumiso. Yeah. I Prof. Mba. Oh, okay, listen. What you do, what I'm trying to say is that they were catalytic. The Nansika, the academics, to the uprising of the 80s. And earlier on, they spoke about Tiro, about Bani Pitjana, about Stanley Mudlia, about Seth Cooper. The teachers that were teaching them were doing what you are doing now here. Later on, you had leaders with quality and quality leaders. So, Nelson Mandela, what is the next guy? Museum, you are on track. University of Nelson Mandela, you are on track. Conrad, you are on track. It starts with you, nobody else. Don't go and listen to preachers of war that they will disappear with the first crash of a gun. So therefore, I think the organizers are correct to position this thing also by the daunting question that we need to give answers to is how are we going to search and find the soul of a South African rainbow nation? How are we convert all of us to work towards the realization of the Rainbow Nation project? How are we going to make all our citizens to be proud of our country and state? Nelson Mandela told us what we ought to do when he said, our daily deeds as ordinary South Africans must produce an actual South African reality that will reinforce humanity's belief in justice, strengthen its confidence in the nobility of the human soul, and sustain all our hopes for a glorious life for all. That is what all that this rainbow is about. We're not going to abandon that. Whatever you call it, that's what it is. Mandela invites all our people to commit themselves to building our country. Luthuli envisaged the Rainbow Nation when he wrote people of all races on another occasion. He said, people of all races will eventually live together in harmony because no one, white, black, or brown, wants to destroy this beautiful land. Now, that's on and around 1961. Luthuli is talking to an author, a historian. And Luthuli, on that occasion, predicted that the South African freedom will come peacefully, without much Nantsika bloodshed. That's what Luthuli says. Years gone by. He also implored us to dedicate ourselves in solving our own problems. Ithethiwe loo nto apha siyavana ngaloo nto but asiyenzi. Sibhizi sixakekisa ngento ezininzi ezingadibenanga nathi. But okay, mandiyeke quickly I'm jumping to the final thing which people will say, so what? Here are the things that I'm saying we ought to do. We need to grow the economy, create real employment for all those who can and want to work, maintain law and order, implement all the policies that the government proclaim. See, as we speak, you have a chance to create your own laws, but for now you can't put these ones that are existing in abeyance, which you are still going to look for your own laws. No, come on, for now, please. Yes, we know you got your time, you will get it. Nantsika, let's implement the existing one. Protect and guarantee safety and security for our citizens. Develop an education that suits our current economic needs. Respect and uphold the Constitution. Be loyal to the country. Protect and safeguard all state institutions. What it means sometimes, even if in order to defend the institution, I have to do the right thing. You know, like for those who don't know, 2 years ago, I tried to do this. Now I got elected to be a councillor. And then the people say, who? I knew that they will want me out, but they said, Bimali. But anyway, I got the facts, but I went to the Nantsika. I sat in the meeting, I stood up and said, sorry, Chair, as Kutwangu speaker, but my name appears in the Nantsika, in the agenda of council, and therefore the rule says I must excuse myself. I am excusing myself on that basis. I go. I don't kaba then say, because we will break the institutions that we want them to protect us tomorrow. Embrace our national symbols and heritage, stand behind our flag and national anthem, elect leaders we can believe and trust, conscientize everyone about the value of unity in a nation, because you can vote for whatever party you want, but don't divide people. That's what we need to tell people about. We must vote for leaders who cherish and adhere to the time-tested values of freedom, of the freedom struggle, to the values of freedom. We must encourage leaders to conduct themselves with moral values and human integrity. I trust the next generation of leadership to search, find, and reclaim the soul of the South African Rainbow Nation. And it can be done. It's not dead and buried. Thank you very much.
I say I would have had difficulties in commanding Upra Coast, and maybe I would have had to shoot him. Because it doesn't like stick to time and respect it. I am joking. Now, we are going to go to questions. But before we do that, I wanted to appear like brilliant because I'm in the ivory tower, and the ivory tower has got certain rules in which you play the game. Only for that reason, not any other reason. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, they say my intellect borders on being low. Here are the books that we need to read and recommended by me on the subject that we have just discussed. And I wanted to reach 10, but I could only reach 8 out of my memory because my memory is not good. The first one is Ernest Renan. He writes in the 1800s. He asked the question, what is the nation? And if you read that book, you will realize what he says about a nation, about the soul of the nation. The second one is popular reading nowadays. It's by Benedict Anderson, Imagined Communities. The third one, but I want you to read 2 chapters there, is by Steve Biko, I Write What I Like. I want you to read the chapter, Black Souls in White Skins, and some African cultural concepts, because they deal with the matters that we're dealing with. The fourth one, for most people who are here, that article will be unpopular, is by Joseph Stalin. He writes a beautiful article about Marxism and the national and colonial question. So if you read that article by Stalin, the fourth one is by James Blott. It simply says the national question. The sixth one, I had forgotten it, but Professor Ndletyana reminded me when he was speaking. Then I quickly made myself brilliant. It's by Frantz Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth. But please focus on chapter 3, which the pitfalls of the national consciousness. And the seventh one is by Kwesi Pra, Knowledge in Black and White, the Impact of Apartheid on the Production and Reproduction of Knowledge. And I think the last one I was also reminded by Professor Ndletyana when he was quoting Du Bois, The Souls of the Black Folk. I could tell you about the writings of Thabo Mbeki on the subject and other people, but I know you know those because they are in your library. So I want you to engage with this, including the writings of Paul Kruger and the writings of Jan Smuts, because you need to understand the debate from all angles for you to reach a particular conclusion. Questions? There was a question there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in that order. I have promised people that by 3 o'clock we'll be out of here, and I intend keeping to my promise. Yes, sir.
So that we can really see where South Africa really started. Look here, Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, they're writing exams about our history. Zimbabwe, our history. They write exams, and that history is not in our history books. So sad. The one Zimbabwe guy asked me, and I come back to my question is, he didn't pass because of 2 points that he missed in the main exams because he write the wrong person. History or South Africa that he can't answer. Where, Mr. Historian, where are we putting the line or telling or starting by saying history? Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, John.
Before you speak, can we ask direct questions
Okay,
and not make preambles?
I'll try
please?
and do that. I will try. Okay, firstly, I would just like to welcome the warnings and concerns from Mr. Jack with regards to the issues of war and everything and how dangerous it is. I hope it is not misinterpreted to say like the youth should silence his concerns about what is happening. I hope it's not presented like that. So my question is to the historian, the lovely historian. So I would like to understand what really informs your choice of history to study. Or it's similar to that, but I would like to the location, because the theme here is in search for the South African Rainbow Nation Zone. And in your studies or in your examples you've made, you have made a South African history in a very footnote. You've focused mostly on what happened in Poland, in Rwanda and everything. And I would like to believe that this question should have been answered by you telling the history of South Africa to South Africans. Because as there's a writer from Kenya who usually says, in the case of South Africa, we have criminal. Sorry, Jan. No one is willing to take responsibilities of the crime, but they do acknowledge that there were crimes that were committed. So that pretense of engineering this unity and this rainbow nation without actually touching the actual nerve of what happened in South Africa, I think that what would put us at ease as the youth. Yeah, but to be told, but this person did this to this person, or this group did to this group. So I would have loved to hear it from that point of view. It's failing.
Testing 1, 2.
Thank you. Thank you. My question would be, I'm trying to navigate the request and the question. My question would be, what would be your view to the fact that the search for the soul of the Rainbow Nation is a misnomer in the presence, or the very Rainbow Nation concept needs to be redefined, and because it is much more theoretical and biblical and does not speak to issues of inequality that a rainbow nation that people will hold hands and get home. The other one is hungry and the other one is more fed. So the rainbow nation in the context of economic empowerment, to redefine it so that it speaks to issues of social justice and social integration. Thank you.
Testing 1 2.
Thank you, colleagues. No, thank you very much, colleagues. My name is Voyondo Tana, and I am in the Office of Engagement at CANRAD. So, Rakusta, when you were speaking about your topic and you were deliberating, I couldn't help but think of the preamble of the Constitution. Right? That says one of the purposes or the ideals of the Constitution in South Africa is to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights, right?
Testing 1 2. Nkosi Mhlanga phambili. My name is Simpiwe Msizi. I'm a cultural activist. I am a heritage practitioner, by the way, and recently a student also on the memory and heritage. It's just that I'm a bit disturbed every time when it comes to that part when facilitator says people must stick with the question. I always get worried because I always think that sessions like this are more engagement sessions, a dialogue. So in such a way, in other platforms, I normally say to facilitators, rather, they must learn to ask the speakers to have a shorter time, and then the people are reflecting have more time, because it's always being disadvantaged for people when they are ready to engage, and then suddenly says that it's 1 minute. So I just wanted to pass that thing across. Coming directly, I'm interested in this thing, liberation heritage. I'm interested in this liberation heritage, and especially what Dr. Mabuso was saying about the Port Elizabeth, the Eastern Cape. You see, I'm very worried how the liberation heritage is being handled here in this place, and especially the issue of memory. So I even wanted to say to this lady, what's her name? Tali. That is for example, I will just make a simple example here about this liberation things. We have a Sanlam building here that is known to have tortured Steve Biko in 1977. And all about the history of Black consciousness is in that building. I won't talk about a lot, but there were efforts like that. This was going to be done by the government, And as we talk today, the place was supposed to be like a memory. That's what they said, liberation memory. Today, it's zero. Liberation heroes were there in other years here with the MEC and all that, promise, all that. We were there in this year with the students of the university. There is no memory. When you get to that place, there's nothing that you can find. There are even more memories that are coming here in PE stories, even of the colonial times. The worry is this, that is here where I live. There seems to be no structure, program, who is sensitive in these kind of things. So I wanted to get it maybe from you, that is, how would you help the nation or the society to capture what it's supposed to have in the right manner? Because I'm really struggling there. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, we will start with Tali for simple reasons. And the reason why I said just keep to the question. So you must not think that she is rude after answering when she exits, because she must go and catch her flight. So I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to ask a question so that she responds comprehensively without running. But then I got a lecture. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And apologies, I just have to catch a flight back. Thank you for very thoughtful questions, and I really appreciate it. I'll start actually with the last one, if you don't mind, and I know you also want to speak about liberation heritage. But I think that's why I try to give a general outlook of the importance of remembering. And how do we remember? You gave the example of the building. So how do we remember our past? Is just giving a street a new street name enough? Does that mean that we remember? And I think your building example is very, very important. But who should remember is what I would like to speak about. We have a lot of wonderful youth here, lots of students. Should it not be a project of the university, of schools, of education, of remembering our own past? Projects of remembering our past, projects of plaques, QR codes, use all the technology to remember and investigate and research our past. Because the danger is that it will not be remembered. And I want to connect this to the first question about history. Where does history start, and how do we teach our history, and can we go deeper into our history? And I want to offer you 3 terms that maybe will be useful. History can be remembered. History can be forgotten. But for me, the most dangerous thing is that history is not remembered, unremembered. In other words, it was never remembered. It's not forgotten. In order to forget, you have to remember first. You understand what I'm saying? In order to forget, you have to remember first. If we don't remember the building now, what chance do we have to remember this history in 100 years? So for me, this is the important thing. And I tried to bring, to answer the last question, I tried to bring examples from other societies. I thought that we are searching for the soul, but we are sometimes getting lost in ourselves. So maybe by looking at other societies that struggled, and there are societies that are still struggling. I can speak about Cambodia, for example, or about Namibia, for example, for a long time. They're struggling, and we are struggling. So sometimes it is easier to look at other examples, to reflect on other examples, to see what doesn't work. I think that it's more important sometimes to see what doesn't work, that you do not repeat the same mistakes again. So it's not only what works, that's lovely, wonderful, we can copy, we can get inspired, but what doesn't work. So that is why I could have spoken about South Africa, and that's what we do, that's what I do every day. But I thought, in difference to all the other talks that we had today, let me reflect a little bit about other societies that are really struggling to look at their past. So I hope that that made sense to you.
Yeah. And Ndodenkulu, no, I wasn't dependent local. No, I'm not discouraging you from pursuing a war when you have created the conditions for such a thing, and you are in a mental preparedness for that, or any time. And also, I think I don't know, because the questions that are being raised to me, I read them in my speech here. For example, I told you what a rainbow, what it will mean to be the rainbow. I'm not saying, you see the risk here to Idoban, we always refuse to go to the actual source of the problem.
We want to ibamba nje esiqwini into and then loo nto isifake engxakini because the reason why we are as they were supposed to take that was the goose that lays the golden egg in the long term because a policy of government you cannot apply it within 5 years and so on. It takes 10 years. Yeah, so when we had here with the aim of generating income in our own terms, by the way, we were not forced by a structural adjustment, which is going to happen anyway if we behave the way we are behaving now. World Bank is waiting for you. You will come to it. It will never come to you because of your behavior. Okay, so Tina, we tried. That's why we survived from 2008 to like 2011. And then now today, it coffers it was empty. Rainbow Nation into a no, it might sound it can be good for anyone, but the rainbow is just coining. That's why I'm saying he coined it. And it is a gospel or anything, but it's something that you feel like you can say something, Ekwens are happy, and that is what in line anyway, not outside what the liberation struggle was all about or the values of the liberation struggle. Thank you very much. No. Can you please come? Thank you very much for at least sticking to time, even though we're beyond with 5 minutes. And I'm hoping that nobody will miss their flight back home. And thank you very much to the Nelson Mandela Museum for inviting us. And thank you very much to the Nelson Mandela University. I'm hoping there is a Nelson Mandela Street somewhere.
Please, Prof, Doc, who did you decide among yourselves? Prof Mngomezulu, please come and close the event, please. Yeah, I think one of the panelists is going to leave. Thank you so much for your support today. You're not going to hear from me again after this. So thanks a lot for the honor to facilitate today's event. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, we thought this thing of ambushing people ended with apartheid. It still continues. I'm being ambushed by the CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, let me, on behalf of the Nelson Mandela Museum Council and management and staff, and also on behalf of Nelson Mandela University, particularly led by Conrad, thank all of you, the speakers, for honoring the invite, and of course preparing for this event and giving us these robust discussions. And then everyone else who participated in one or the other, either as a speaker or as asking questions or just being here and then giving us the other view, we really appreciate your presence. And everybody else who came here, we thank you very much. We normally then make a mistake of not thanking everyone. It's not because we choose not to, but it's because sometimes we forget. Like right now, we're just rushing time. And then the problem is that we might not be able to remember everyone. But I would have made a mistake if I don't thank the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture nationally, represented by the Chief Director, for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much. Specifically because Nelson Mandela Museum is a stakeholder for the department, and therefore we have to do that as well. And we normally don't thank people who feed us. Those important people, that is those who are giving us lunches, teas and all of that. Thank you very much. A round of
pictures that you can see that have been selected by the museum that will be displayed. But I think it's 2 or 3, but we won't spend a lot of time on that. Can you please move further down, Mr. Mukunyane? Okay, this gives us a brief history on the Nelson Mandela Museum, but obviously anyone that wants to read more on it can spend time when the website is back online. Can you please move further down? Events, okay, as you can see, there's a countdown zero because this was the event that was today. So, but it gives you a countdown of everything that is moving towards events that Nelson Mandela is doing. This is the, can you open it, Mr. Mukonya, just one? Yes, so it highlights the picture that the event that was currently taking place, but now we won't spend much time on that. In the near future, you'll be able to purchase tickets on the site where you need to be able to interact. And now, if there's an upcoming event, maybe this one, you will select on it and you'll be able to purchase tickets within the site. That's to make it much more convenient for people. Please move further down, Mr. Mukunyane. This is the art gallery and the different sites, which is the Bunga Building, Nguza, and yes. Yes. Okay. The different sites is Nelson Mandela. Please move further down. You have to keep it moving. Please move down, Mr. Mukunyane. Okay. So now that is the end of the landing page, but as you can please scroll back up. Let's move to the much more interesting parts of the, okay, please select visitor's experience. So as you can see, there are several experiences or options that have been created there. Then I think it's the projector that's disconnecting. Is everything okay? Yes, it's a projector. Okay, thank you. So can you please hover over this option, Mr. Mukunyane? Yes. So as you can see, there are a lot of selections to go from. Experiences in Bunga, experiences in Kunu, Garden of Remembrance. So we won't go into everything in but let's just select a Bunga building for demonstration purposes, and so that you can see the beautiful work that has gone into making this website a success. So it gives you a little bit of detail and background about the Bunga building, go down a bit. So basically these are the so it doesn't crowd the screen, okay, so that if you need to see more you can click more so that it loads, as to also mitigate the load time so that it doesn't make it slower, okay. But as you go up, I think that will be our last is on, okay, as you can see it would be vacancies and tenders, but those everyone understands, we know, yes. So everyone knows those ones, okay. Contact us form, that would be our last tab. So on the contact us form, this way now you'd need to make any inquiries or accommodation. Oh, there's also another one. Can you please go there, Mr. Mukunyane? Sorry, I know it's a good late. Can you please go into tours, please? Tour, yeah. Contact, yes, the last one, yes. Okay, thank you. So for any reason that now you need to make a booking to the Nelson Mandela Museum, so as you can see here, there's an online booking form that you can fill in. It's got a few options for you to select when you need to book a venue, okay. So you'd obviously fill in the required information and it would go to a dedicated person within the Nelson Mandela Museum staff. Please move further down. Yes, I think that's after you submit it, your booking will have been noted and they will get back to you within a certain time that you would require. So I hope that I've covered most of it, but yes, that is the Nelson Mandela Museum website. Thank you, everyone.
You can see we are moving. We are transforming Mtata to be the best place ever. So thank you. That is our website. But one thing that we have not done is to show that tab of tenders. That is the most important one. And request for proposals and request for quotation. We are not interested in it. We want to see that tab. All right, no, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for it too. Diabulela, Nenga, Kotuka, Abakokayo.
bahambe safe. Selesithandazile man, ndiyathemba into yobana ukhuseleka apho niya khona. Enkosini. Thank you.
Indlela yabo bonke abaphansi kwendlela